Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the show. Good to see you all again. Good to see yourself, lead judges. Before we get into everything tonight, we've got a clip from BetVictor talking about Liverpool and Jurgen Klopp and whether Liverpool been back. It's a bit of a strange start for the season. Maybe we'll have a bit of a chat about it after this clip. Run a clip, Dave.
You know, I don't think Klopp should be expected to compete with City. So you can kind of say he's overachieved with what he's kind of been given at Liverpool. And I agree with that. But I just feel like once you've got that coach in that time period and the opportunity presents itself, I think you kind of got to back him. And I feel like there have been times over the last few years where maybe that extra signing or maybe that...
He's back. Like he's had... Liverpool made 3
Darwin Núñez,
signings.
Fair enough, was a lot of money. But
so was Van Dijk.
They've still got yeah, but there's a big gap between. I don't know why I'm defending Liverpool here, but like if you look at the midfield, you got Milner and Henderson still in there. Look, Henderson, give him some respect. I think he deserves his spot in the team at some point. But Milner shouldn't still be playing for Liverpool on a regular basis. No. When he's in the midfield, people are rubbing their hands together. You shouldn't be signing Arthur on the last day of the transfer. Like, nobody really wants Arthur.
No,
you think Jurgen Klopp thought Arthur was my first choice? I guaranteed there's a couple of players in there above him. I feel like the manager should be given the best resources. And from the outside looking in, I just feel like, I'm kind of glad they haven't backed this manager because
do you know what it is?
Jurgen Klopp, they have someone who's the best, arguably the best in the world.
Get yourself over to BetVictor, guys. Listen, Lee, let's talk a little bit about that because I think it's a good question. You know, I'm gonna say this, right. I went for Liverpool to win the league last season because I felt that their strength in depth was there or thereabouts now. And Manchester City have always had the strength in depth. The reason I never went for Liverpool before that was because I felt that there was such a drop-off, a little bit like Arsenal, I suppose, that when Salah's out, they've got Minamino, or when Mane ain't there, they've got Origi. The drop-off was too much. For me now, when I'm seeing players like Luis Diaz come in, Jota coming in, Darwin Núñez coming in, at the back, Konaté, when Matip's not about, they've got Konaté or they've got Joe Gomez. Obviously, when Trent's not there, Gomez can play there. Tsimikas is coming for Robertson. Kelleher is a much better goalkeeper than Adrian. I thought, you know what? Fair play to you. You know, Thiago, Fabinho, Henderson in the midfield, Keita coming in, Oxlade-Chamberlain can hardly kick a ball, who's still obviously a good footballer. So I thought to myself, fair play. But when I look at it now, with Liverpool, they've always gone and got a good signing when they've needed one, but they've never gone and got that extra bit. They've not done that next little bit. Do you see what I'm saying? So they'll go and they'll get Alisson and Van Dijk, but they won't go and get that extra one. So when they got Darwin Núñez, you think, that's a good start. Where are they going to go then? It stops. There's not that extra midfielder. And I think sometimes that's potentially where people are saying that Klopp's maybe not got it right. And let's have it rightly. They have had 5 massive injuries this season. Now they're all back. They're going to start winning games. Matip and Van Dijk are back again. Thiago's back in that midfield. Fabinho will be back. Jota's back. Núñez is back from his suspension. We're going to see Liverpool. This is the real Liverpool for me over the coming weeks, mate.
Yeah, it's just an interesting one because listen, the old BetVictor guys and that, they're really like some of them, really, really good guys, and they speak a lot of sense. And when I see the show, I had to agree with Adam. I don't think Liverpool have been, they've got the best manager. I don't care what anybody says; they've got the best manager I think he's the best. I think he's better than Pep. I really do because. Wow. With the resources that he's got and everything like that, he has to work. He hasn't got the resources that Pepper's got, but he still puts in this, unbelievable team. And really, if it wasn't for Man City, they'd have won the league in the last 3 years. And I just think they've been a really, really awesome side. And they've gone and got, when they say they've backed him or whatever, they haven't really because they've lost Sane. You know what I mean? So when they bring in Núñez, you know what I mean? Like they've had to replace. So it's not saying like build on what they've got. Yeah, exactly. Like, you know what I mean? And it was a great point he made. Like, listen, no one's criticising James Milner. I think James Milner's a terrific professional. He's been a fantastic player. He's the sort of player that I look at, you know, when I play in the vets and all that, like, you know what I mean? I shouldn't be playing week in, week out, even though I was a good player back in the day. I accept
no, mate, don't put yourself down, judges.
No, I do get that. I do, you know, if you're playing, if we've got a real big go, I'm 20 years older than some of these guys. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't expect to play week in, week out. And if I am playing week in, week out, I feel that maybe we're a little bit short. You know, don't get me wrong. If I start, I'm great. But I get where he came from. He's playing too many games for his age. You know what I mean? I think he's 37 now. Like, you know, if you're a young midfield player, you're going to run through him, run past him now. It's just, you know what I mean? It's Father Time catches up when you're down, you know what I mean? Like, and I think that's where they've not backed it, you know. I think a little bit like Arsenal, I think Thiago's a fantastic player. How many more injuries are you going to get? How many more hamstring injuries are you going to get? Like, you can't rely on him, a bit like we are with Partey. So what do you have to do? Keep your fingers crossed, and you know. And I totally agree.
It's like,
you know,
it's like the Xhaka and El anything. We keep having them in there. They keep having Milner and Henderson, don't they? Because they're relying back on them.
They've not really gone on and pushed that through on to a thing. So I do agree with him. Yes, he's been backed in other areas, of course he has. But like, I just think that it's a great question. I'm actually looking forward to when we play Liverpool because it will really show us where we are in a couple of weeks, 3 or 4 weeks' time. You know, I think that'll be the game where I'll look at and go, right, I know we've got Spurs coming up, but I don't look at that as a yardstick. For me, that Liverpool game will be because they're continuously beating us over the last few years.
Yeah, North London derby, anything can happen. Form goes out the window. Yeah. You know what it's like. But with Liverpool and Man City, to be fair, I know that game's now been moved, but they're the two that I'm looking at thinking, how far have we come then? How far have we come now? You know?
Yeah, that's your gauge, isn't it?
Yeah, 100% exactly. It is, man. 100% it is. So, you know, and the last thing on the Klopp and Pep thing, I think both of them are class, by the way. I can't see.
Yes, I do. Yeah, of course they are.
They are absolutely world class. I think when I look back, though, will I remember Jurgen Klopp as winning major honours? Will I remember Pep Guardiola for winning major honours? I think I will for both of them. But if we were to say who's had that generation, it would be Pep because he's won. I think it's 12 trophies in the last 5 years or something mad. So as much as I agree with what you're saying, he's had it harder because Pep Guardiola will say, I want 2 fullbacks. Yeah, I still need another 2 fullbacks, please. Okay, now I can start. Right, now I need 2 more defenders. I need another one, please. And they're just throwing money at him. Klopp has had to sell like Coutinho to buy the Alisson and Van Dijk. I get that.
Exactly that.
Totally get that.
Exactly that. And that's why I feel he's slightly better. Like, I say this, you know, a couple of years ago when they had all those injuries, you got them into 4th place. I don't think Pep would have been able to do that because when Pep, like, as a central defender that's not quite working, let's go out and bite Diaz. You know, the chairman ain't going to him, I've just spent £45 million on Ake, like, you know what I mean? But no, I want that. You know, I'll tell you what, I want to spend 100 million on Jack Grealish. Has Jack Grealish been a real success when you spending 100 million pound on him? No,
he never was worth that much, was he? Let's be honest.
No. But when you buy someone like that, so this is what I'm saying. When you buy someone like that, he's your star boy. You've got to play him, you know, and work out. He doesn't really have to do that because he's just another star boy of another 5 or 6. You know what I mean? Like, so listen. To manage world superstar players and a big squad like he does is not easy as well, you know. So I'm not saying like, it's easy because you get the best players and then you just manage it. It's not like that. You've got egos to do, and I think that he does that exceptionally well. But I just think that they're both fantastic managers in their own right. But I do think maybe it's the financial thing because, you know, I do relate Liverpool to us. They've got to cut their cloth accordingly. And that's why I suppose I admire him a little bit more. I don't think Klopp, you know, if Klopp hasn't got that resources that Pep has. If he did have those resources, I wonder who would win the most trophies. It would be I'm a big Klopp fan. I know that, you know, for me, I'd love to play for Jurgen Klopp. I just like the way that he is. You know, he annoys me now when he plays against Arsenal. Why does he annoy me? Because he's good. Do you know? So it's a real interesting debate, and I was fascinated by that. Sometimes it's good to be a neutral on it and not,
Yeah,
you know,
100.
not have it.
And
Because
also,
if
you're
you're
talking
talking
about
about,
elite stuff as well. You know what I mean?
yeah,
You're
you're
talking
talking
about the
about
very
it.
best, and that's always enjoyable, isn't it? 100%.
Yeah.
Lee, before we go into Arsenal Brentford, mate, got to talk a little bit about the England squad. It's announced today by Gareth Southgate, and there was a few names left out. James Maddison, yet again, not a favourite of Gareth Southgate's, is he? Mason Mount's been out of form for a while, but also at the centre back position, Harry Maguire walks in there. So does Connor Cody. Eric Dyer's brought back in. Here's my thinking on this one. Let me run this one past you because I know your thoughts. Ben White, I don't care that he's not in there because selfishly it means he can't get injured. Having said that, is it right that he's not in there? No, it's probably not. Certainly with some of those names that are in there ahead of him. But let me tell you why I don't think he's picked him. You can see 4 right backs in there. Reece James, Trent Alexander-Arnold, and obviously Trippier and Walker. Ben White's playing right back at the moment. And that is the only reason I can think that Gareth Southgate has decided not to pick Ben White because he's not going to be his right back. I can't think of any other logical reason as to why Gareth Southgate would not look at the last few performances of Ben White and think, I don't need that in my England squad. Now, some people would say to counter argument what I've just said, well, why would you not pick him then? Because he can play right back and centre back. And that's a great point. I'm not trying to justify the reasoning behind why I think it's the right decision. I'm trying to get into Southgate's mind about why he's not gone for Ben White. Because for me, I think Tomori 100% deserves it. I think Mark Guehi has been fantastically consistent for Crystal Palace and very, very good. I think John Stones over the last few years at Manchester City has proved good enough and for club and country. Harry Maguire has been out of form. Connor Cody has been very average in my opinion. And who's the other one? Eric Dyer has been brought back in. I mean, I don't know why. I know that he's been playing better for Tottenham, but is he a great player now? I don't know. Under Conte, he seems to now be a new Tony Adams, maybe. I don't know. But I am surprised, like everybody, that Ben White's not in there. Selfishly, it doesn't bother me because it just means, I mean, I don't care about the Nations League anyway, I might add. And also, he's now not going to get injured, so it's all good. But player confidence-wise, it might change him. He might get knocked by it, or he might think, who the hell are these players getting ahead of me? I'm going to up my game. I don't know. We'd have to see the mentality of Ben White. But I just wanted to get your thoughts and the reasoning behind maybe why he's not gone with Ben White. Is that an option? He's gone for a right back and thought, maybe I'm just trying to think about why this might not be the case he's got in the team,
Jealous of him. Jealous of his good looks. Jealous of his, fantastic body. Better centre half than he'll ever be. Just pure and utter jealousy because I can't see any other reason why it is. Because when you say right back, I get that. He's played right back and all that. Let's just go through it. Ben Chilwell, where's he been most of this season? On the bench. I've not seen Luke Shaw play for Manchester United for a very, very long while on the bench. John Stones has played 6 minutes football up until Champions League game this week. Love and behold, where did he play? Where did he play on Wednesday night? Right back. You know what I mean? Versatility is all there, So Kyle Walker injured at the moment, When I look at that squad, Kieran Trippier, right? Yeah, good player. Walker, good player. Trent Alexander, good player, right? Yeah. 3 right backs. Reece James makes it 4. Reece James probably will play in a back 3 in this car. He plays wing back for Chelsea, right? So all of those things that you're saying is right. But then I look at all the other players and it's not right, He turns around and says you've got to play well to get, to keep in the squad. How is Harry Maguire in this squad? How is he in the squad? He can't even play for Man United. His form is shot, right? Then I go on to other things I look at Calvin Phillips. Sorry, I got Calvin Phillips mixed up a little bit there with John Stones. That was John Stones' first start, by the way, at right back. Calvin Phillips, good player. 6 minutes of football. 6 minutes, and he's in the squad. Now, is that not favouritism in my? Because I think it is with me. And I'm not saying
he's gone. What he's done, Lee, is he's gone with the players that you can trust from the World Cup and the Euros previously. It must be because Ben White was in and around that. He was in and around that.
Ben White was in that squad.
Yeah, he was.
So why is he being loyal to? Why is he being loyal to Stones. Like Stones. Why is he being loyal to Shaw? Why is he being loyal to Connor Cody, who, by the way, has had to leave Wolves on loan to go to Everton because he couldn't get a game there, right? Yeah. Why is he being loyal to him? Why is he being loyal to Trent Alexander? Why is he being loyal to Ben Chilwell? Why is he not being loyal to Ben White? That's my questions that I'd like to ask. You know, I look into the midfield. Phillips has been very loyal to him. Mason Mount is nowhere near the player that he was. So I watched Maddison against Arsenal for Leicester the other week. I thought he was brilliant. Is there nothing, you know, like all of a sudden, you know, I'm not saying Mason Mount should be dropped, don't get me wrong, like, you know what I mean? But looking at it, you know, being kept faith in him, like, and I get that. I then go into the forward line, right? Yeah. I bet he was dying. I bet he was dying to leave out Jack Grealish. Because I bet he won't be loyal to him when Rashford's fit. It'll be Jack Grealish that goes out there. Jared Bowen, what has he done in the European Championships last time? Nothing, but he's in the squad again. Like, you know, I'm not saying
he's out of form, by the way. He had a good season last season, but he is out of form. He is really out of form. You know, Lawless was on the channel the other day. He's a West Ham fan. He says Bowen needs to be dropped. He's been awful. Goes into the squad. I mean, like, look at that now. I mean, I'm really glad for Ivan Toney. That's really, really good.
Yes, that's a good thing.
That's a really good thing. I think deserves it. Obviously, so does Tammy Abraham. I think it's good that Tomori and Gare he stuck with. Pickford's out, so the 3 goalkeepers are fair. But some of those other question marks, I mean, you could look down there and say, you know, question marks over Cody, Dyer, definitely Ben White.
How has Eric Dyer got in front? How has Eric Dyer, who's not been in the squad for 2 years, nothing to do with Spurs, how has he got in the side to Ben White, who's been playing really, really well this year? Like Ben White, for instance, has been in the squads, right? I don't care what anybody says, has played really, really well at right back. So that tells me that he's versatile. He can play in a back 3 or a back 4. What has he done to justify him being left out and him brought in, other than sheer, utter favouritism? Ours, you can turn around and say, let's talk about Harry Maguire. Harry Maguire couldn't even get a game today in the Europa League against Sheriff, right? But he will play for England. You know what I mean? He is not going to play for Manchester United, barring injury or the odd European game, right? Europa League game leading up to the World Cup. And then if he gets roasted in the World Cup and we lose games in the World Cup, who's at fault? Harry Maguire or Southgate? And I'll put this question to anybody, right? If Arsenal lose their manager tomorrow, Tottenham lose their manager tomorrow, any of the top clubs there, would you want Gareth Southgate as your manager? Not one would want him, like, you know what I mean? Like, and this, so for me, this is the thing. England should have won the Euros. Like, if they had an attacking-minded manager that knew what he was doing, right? Because at the end of the day, we went there and tried to defend the 1-0 lead, right?
I agree, mate.
We played no one decent in the World Cup. Only like I think it was it
got
Belgium
Croatia and lost.
And then we got to Croatia and lost. I think we lost to Belgium in the group stages, or someone we lost in the group stages.
Belgium,
it was Belgium, lost to them, and then we come up to a half decent team in Croatia, lost again. Like, you know what I mean? Look at the group that he's got now. You know, you can play a reserve team in that and get through on that group. He's so fortunate on the way he's going through and all that. Like, I think if we win that group, we may have France or someone in the next round. Like, bye bye, Gareth, get the hell out of the country. Like, you know what I mean?
I agree with you.
And when he turns around and says, "You getting this team on merit," bullshit. Fucking bullshit. You know what I mean? Like, you know, don't lie, because if that is the case, you wouldn't have any defenders. I'm going to go on this now and say, right, we're just talking about Eric Dyer. On form, yes, Eric Dyer has been better than Cody. He's been better than Stones. He's been better than Maguire. So in the laws of that, he should be in the squad. So should Ben White. And then probably somebody else from another team's going to go, well, so should he, like, you know what I mean, at the end of it. Like, John Stones has not played at all for Manchester City. He doesn't get in their team. Like, you know what I mean? Calvin Phillips, who I'm a big fan of. What the hell has he gone to Manchester City for 6 months before a World Cup? Nothing else. You know what I mean? Like, because he's not even playing, Dan. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous. Why would you go there? I'm sorry, like, you know, you know, Raheem Sterling's another one. Like, you know what I mean? I think he's been poor for Chelsea, if I'll be honest. Like, you know what I mean? Like, what I've seen of him, like, but I get that to a certain degree.
He'll score goals, won't he?
Yeah, and he's played well in the Euros, right? He's played well in the Euros, and has never let England down. And even though he's probably not in the greatest of form, he's still playing week in, week out, Dan. You know what I mean? He's not sitting on the bench, is he? Like, if you have a look at all of those players there, like Tammy Abraham is doing really well, Bowen, Foden, Grealish, Kane, Saka, Sterling, Tony, every single one of them is a starter for their team, playing week in, week out, right? You go into the other areas of the field, Declan Rice, James Ward-Prowse, definitely, Mount is, Bellingham, I thought was outstanding the other night, like, you know. But Phillips hasn't. But you know, how can you like have what another thing? Formation. I'm going on a little bit about that. One is it 8 defenders? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14 defenders. Is that right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 defenders. 12 defenders, 4 midfield players.
No, it makes no sense, bro.
12 defenders and Ben White, who's played week in, week out for the top of the league, Arsenal, can't get in that team. 12 defenders. You tell me that's right. And you tell me why people go to me, why don't you really get into England? That is exactly why I don't get into England. Because, like, you know, it's corrupt. I go back to, like, when Arsenal were winning leagues. You know what I mean? Like 1990 World Cup. We won the league. We won the league in 91. You know, and I'll tell you what, I'll tell you the team we had, right? Just let's bear me out on this, like, yeah? Seaman in goal, Dixon, Winterburn, Adams, right? Bold, Thomas, Rocastle, Ian Wright. Alan Smith, Ian Wright come a bit later. Sorry, so it weren't Ian Wright. Kevin Campbell, right? How many's out of running that? About 8 or 9. Paul Davis, Merson, right? I've rattled off 10,
13 players,
10, 13 players there. Like, we won the league that season, losing 1 game. Name me how many England players, Arsenal players for England, played in 1990.
So I was 3, so I'm going to guess because I don't know. But I'm going to guess really low. I'm going to guess 3 or 4.
3? Not one. Not one of them was involved in the World Cup. David Seaman was involved, but he was actually for QPR at the time. Like, he signed in the summer. I think he got injured and didn't even go. Not one of them was involved in that World Cup.
How many Tottenham players were? I bet you there was a few of them. Because what I don't get is there seems I think
Waddle. But like, then I go back into 1992.
Tottenham have had the most, ain't they? England.
Tottenham, by the way, have had the most represented players play for England.
Yes, that's weird. That
unbelievable. Like, you know, 1992, we go to the Euros. Ian Wright, top scorer of the Premier League. The First Division. Then it was like top scorer, didn't go. I can go on and on and on about it, like on and on. Paul Davis, one of the best backs I've ever seen. Right, left-footed players I've ever seen. Paul Davis. How many international caps?
5, 6.
None. Harry Winks has got double figures. Don't tell me it's not corrupt. Don't tell me it's not corrupt.
It's weird, isn't it? It is weird. Kev never played, did he? Either Kev Campbell never got in.
Kevin never played.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
I mean that. Let's just say something now. I'll tell you what. To end on this, right? The best back 5 in Europe never played together for England, and they were all English. That makes no sense to me. How Seaman, Dixon, Winterburn, Bold, and Adams never played. And just if I'm the England manager, I'm going, well, that's my first 5. What am I doing with the rest of it then? That never happened because the Neville brothers got in. Or, you know, what's his name at the back? Des Walker or Stuart Pearce. And these are great players, by the way. Don't get me away from it. You know, Gareth Southgate, another one, got in ahead of Keown and Bold. You know what I mean? Like, I'm thinking that 5 there just walks straight in. It's all playing together. George Graham's got it drilled. You put that as your back 5, and then you go forward with it. And to be fair, we had some good midfielders and forward players in our time. Never happened under England. I don't know. It's very, very odd for me, mate. So, yeah, I think you've got a right to question going back in history. The Ben White one is a strange one, Lee. And that's why I tried at the front of the show to explain my reason as to why Gareth Southgate might be thinking,
I get that.
Ben White's playing right back. I've already got 4 right backs. I'm not going to pick another one who's currently playing at right back. That's the only thing I can think, man, because I don't even know what else to suggest with that one, to be fair. So, yeah, interesting one, man.
I'm with you on it. From an Arsenal point of view, like, let them all go, like the Dyers, and go and play for him and all that, like, you know what I mean? And I hope he plays in both games, because he'll be nicely rested for the North London derby when we come back with that big month in October. So will Gabriel, so will Jesus, so will Martinelli. You know what I mean? So, listen, hopefully it's a benefit. And, like, you know, we were talking about it today with Robbie and that. I want the Brazilian boys to go, but if they don't go, you know, it's
selfishly, it's all right.
It's selfishly, it's all right, because they'd be like, you know, not blowing themselves, to be nice and fresh for the latter part of the season. So, you know,
I think England and Brazil are the only 2 ones for me, because the other countries either ain't qualified for our players. So, like Zinchenko, Odegaard, Tierney, they're all staying behind because they didn't get through. The other thing is, you've got players like Ghana, Japan, Switzerland. How far are they going to get? Do you know what I mean? Hopefully not very far, and they can come back. It's Jesus, Martinelli, Saka, Ramsdale, White. Well, White might not even go. That's another question for you. Who's going to play number 1? Is Ramsdale going to play, or is it going to be Pope or Henderson?
Well, Ramsdale was in the number 2 spot for the last 2 games, but, you know, we'll see. You know what I mean? Like, I just ain't got no faith in Southgate. Listen, I'm very much, when it comes to England, it's a tribal thing with me, because it's Arsenal first, and, you know, when it comes to rugby, cricket, I ain't really got. You know, I like me Yorkshire, and I like cricket and all that, but it ain't like me Arsenal. You know what I mean? Like, for me, it's Arsenal. You know, if someone says to me, what do you want? When they go, do you want to win the World Cup or the Premier League? I'd rather win the Charity Shield than the World Cup, like, for Arsenal. That's how I feel. Like, you know, League Cup, I'll take anything over England. Anything that Arsenal win over England, like, you know what I mean? I'll take a North London win over them. If God's come at me and said, Lee, England can win the World Cup, or you can beat Spurs home and away, I'm going Spurs home and away every day of the week. Every day of the week.
Man, I know what you're like with it, man, and I get it. I do get it to a certain degree. I am patriotic, and I will always want England to win, but I do get it. It's always Arsenal first for me. Listen, let's get into Arsenal. I think we're missing football a bit, judges. It's been weird, mate. Like, tonight we've missed it.
We should have been there tonight, shouldn't we?
Should have been there tonight, mate. Should have been there through the game, towards the end of the game. Now we've got a have Everton fixture and a PSV fixture to try and fit in. Now, the PSV one has obviously been put in for the Manchester City one, but everyone goes, great stuff. Well, it's not really, because we've still got another one to fit in, because that Man City one's now got to be rescheduled as well. We've got the Everton one and the Man City one. But for me, mate, I've accepted we're going to be playing 2 or 3 games a week for the rest of this season, unless we go out of competitions early, which I'm hoping we don't. I'm not so sure that squad's going to be big enough for that, but that's another thing. I think we've got about 11 games, 12 games until the transfer window opens again. So that might be able to help us. We might have to do something in there again, but let's not go down that road, because I think we've discussed that forever. Our January and summer windows are just January and summer. So we need to look at what we've got now. Now, this Brentford game coming up, I just feel like it's needed, because Everton and Brentford were 2 games I thought we could have got some momentum back after the disappointment at Old Trafford going into these big fixtures. Now, Manchester United and Arsenal, I actually got some really big games coming up. And it was interesting, because I was speaking about that game because of the Old Trafford result. I think Man United have got Liverpool, City and Chelsea. Arsenal have got Spurs, Liverpool and City. Well, we ain't got City now. We've got Liverpool and Spurs next at home. Now, the Everton and Brentford games would have been quite nice, or nicer fixtures. Now, there's nothing to disrespect from. I think Everton are playing well at the moment, to be fair to them. Under Lampard in the last couple of games, they've given some fight. And Brentford, I've been really impressed with. I think they've been the surprise package for me so far this season. I didn't expect them to be this hard. I think a few of my mates said they'd go down this season. So they've been really, really good. And Tony deserves the plaudits to get his England call up. But I think they would have been nice, kinder fixtures going into this North London derby, and then of course Liverpool after that. Now that we haven't got Everton, we've got Brentford. This is going to be a little bit of PTSD, mate, because of last season's result and a banana skin it could be. Last season, we went into Brentford underprepared, mate, in my opinion. I don't care what anyone says. We didn't sign enough players. We had no Ramsdale. We had no Tomiyasu. We had no Erdegaard at the time. I don't think we had a team good enough. I think Balogun and Martinelli and like COVID problems and God knows what, right? This time, it's not that. We go in there in form. But to be fair, so do they. They're going to bully us. They're going to try and batter us. Where I see Arsenal doing all right in this fixture, and the reason I've gone for a win is I think that we're a team that can struggle to be bullied now. Now, some people just say that Man United bullied and beaten us the other day. I don't think they bullied us. They beat us, absolutely. We showed naivety, but we didn't get bullied or beaten up by them. And I think that's the difference with this Arsenal side now. With the likes of Saliba, Gabriel, Thomas Partey, we'll discuss in a bit. Granit Xhaka's always had some muscle about him. Tomiyasu, when he's fit, has got some muscle about him. We've got some players now that actually have some stature. We don't get beaten up anymore. So, although they did that to us last season, this is a completely different Arsenal. So I want to get your thoughts on this one at the weekend, because I think although it could be a banana skin and every game can be, of course, I fancy us a bit more going into this one just because of the physical stature of the team. And I think that Brentford of the past would beating us up. I'm not so sure they can with this Arsenal side. It would be interesting.
Yeah, I agree with that. First and foremost, I think it's a difficult game because we've now, on the back of the disappointment of Man United, we've got another away game. You know what I mean? If things would have gone for let's just say in scenario how things, we'd have had Everton at home last week. Chances are we'd have won that game. That would have given us a little bit of a boost going into this very, very difficult period that we have now. Tottenham were playing Man City. Man City probably would have beaten them, would have took points off. One of them would have lost points. So we actually could, and if we could have get the result against Brentford, we could actually go into the North London derby sort of 3-4 points in front of them. And then if we beat them again, it's 7 points. And then if you look at it then, going into November, getting to the World Cup, we're going to be in and around that top 4. So I think that it was a massive, massive disappointment not playing last week for the footballing reasons. Obviously, I understand why it weren't played and everything like that, but that was it. So now this game comes really, really important. This game to me is massive now because I don't want the scenarios of last season, Dan. Win 5 games and then go and lose 2 or 3 games and then win another 3 or 4 games. You know what I mean? They've got to go in there. That's why that home game was important. Get that win and then you're back on the run again, But we've now got to go to a very, very difficult place, and I think win the game. If we don't win, it's 2 games without a win, and people will start being a little bit more wary of it. You don't want to go into a run where you lose 1, draw 1, lose 1. We've got some real difficult games coming up. I think October, if we can start, I'm going to actually say people go, "Oh, October's a really tough run." In October, in November, we've got Chelsea away and Wolves away. So I'm going to include up and from now to the World Cup break. We have got some very, very, very tough games. And I think that the fixture by taking that Manchester City game out is a good thing for us. Like it's a good thing for Tottenham. Tottenham didn't play last week at Man City. That's a good thing for them at this moment in time. When it happens, it happens. But you ain't down there as a loss. And so I think that at the end of it, we have got some really, really tough games, and we've got a couple of games in between that in the Europa League where we can rest a few players. So I think that where Liverpool and Tottenham have got Champions League games straight after us, so they're going to have to think about that. We don't really have to worry about that. Liverpool will be coming to the Emirates on the back of a Champions League game. One thing you can't say, we should be playing at this moment in time, Dan. You know what I mean? Brentford would have their feet up watching us, So we go into that Brentford game very, very fresh, where I think that's very, very important. We would have been a little bit jaded maybe going into this game, but there's no excuses. So I expect Arsenal to put in a real top-class performance. One performance now that they need just before they go on in the international break. So we need a really good performance. And listen, I think that, Tony's going to be up for it. First England call up. Maybe, just maybe, you know what I mean? Don't want to get injured, does he? Before his big call up, you know what I mean? So I know that they don't, but, if that ball's there, you know, he may not just dive in for it, just thinking about. I don't know, but like, we'll have to wait and see. I think it'd be a really interesting game. I think this game will tell us a lot. I think defensively, we've been okay this season, apart from individual mistakes. Mistakes been made for the goals against Man United. I believe we should have won that game against Man United. Our defence let us down then. So they've got to make sure that they defend properly. Listen, if we defend properly, we'll win games because those boys up front will get a chance. Even though I think we missed chances in the last game against United, if we kept ourselves and defensively shaped and defended well, I think we'd have gone on to win that game. So I do think we're putting a good performance on Sunday. I'm looking forward to it, and hopefully get the 3 points, and then we can go into this international break still top of the league. Dan, that's a big thing.
Oh,
it's
massive.
big thing,
massive. And do you know what, Lee? Right, I think back to what went wrong last season in terms of our losses. Right, I don't like doing it because last season was a nightmare, but this season will show me where we've come after a loss. Now, The reason I say that is because if you remember, when was the last time? Well, to ask a question, when was the last time Arsenal lost one game? There wasn't one last season. We lost the first 3 games of the season, and then we started winning. Then we lost another 3 against Everton, Liverpool, and Man United, and then we went on another little run. Then we lost to Man City, and we thought, right, we'll be all right now. We've got Burnley next. We'll win. We drew, right? Then we went on another convincing win, and then we got to the stages of the Brighton, Southampton, and Palace. We lost all 3. Then we went on another couple of wins, and then we lost to Newcastle and Spurs. So my point is, we've never just lost one game and then bounced back with a win. This is the time for us to do it now. We've got Brentford, and then we've obviously gone into that North London derby. We have not ever done one loss and gone back and won. And that's what I want to see. Last season, we only saw us go a goal down and come back to win once against Wolves. We've already seen that this season against Fulham. And although we weren't losing at the time of the goal going in, we've already seen us bounce back when they've gone and got equalisers against Villa and against Leicester. So for me, they've always got a goal, we've bounced back. That's one thing I've seen in progress. I need to see now where we go after a loss, because I know we've had a bit of a break and it seems weird now because it should have only been last weekend that we'd lost a game. There's been a whole couple of weekends in between it, but this is going to tell me what this Arsenal team has learned in terms of its mentality and its growth and its maturity, because we need to bounce back in this game, because this is a game that's going to be tricky, but Arsenal should win. And we have, in my opinion, a fully fit side. I'm going to see what Smith Rowe, I mean, obviously we've got El Neni out. Smith Rowe, I don't know. That'll be late, I guess, because obviously he had a couple of weeks, a knock at the warm down, which I still can't believe you get injured on a warm down, but obviously you can. So we've got a side here that is definitely fit enough and good enough to beat Brentford. So that's what I'm going to be looking at, Lee, is the reason I'm going for it in terms of this, because, you know, I look at this now and think if we do lose this, this is going to worry people, because we have 2 losses going into Liverpool and Spurs at home. And that is not going to be a good feeling, mate, is it?
No, exactly not. And that leads to the question, and of course, like on the thumbnail, do you take the risk with Partey? That's the thing, like, you know what I mean? I don't think there is a risk, because, you know, when people go, you don't want to get him injured again. Let's face it, whether he plays in this game or doesn't play in this game, he's somewhere along the line, he's going to get injured again. You know what I mean? So I think that if he's fit and he's trained for the last 10 days, is what they're saying that he has done. I don't know that if it is the case, he plays then. Simple as that. You know what I mean? Like, he's going to go off on international duty anyway. So, for me,
unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah. So for me, a couple of friendlies there, you know, it would be a nice thing if Garner turned around and said, like, you know, let him play on the Sunday, and then, like, don't take him. But they're not going to do that when it's so near the World Cup, even if they just want him out there, like, you know. So for me, I'd play him. You know, what's the point of resting him and he's going to go and play for Ghana, like, you know. So so for me, I don't think it is a risk. I would play him. You know that somewhere along the line he's going to break down again, and that is the big worry for me with him, Smith Rowe. I think Smith Rowe, I think it's going to be out for a little while with his groin. I think it's a groin injury.
Yeah, saying 2 weeks. Apparently in the chat, they're saying 2 weeks.
Yeah, so another couple of weeks. So I'd imagine that, you know, we won't see him till after the international break. But what I'm saying with Partey, with Smith Rowe, is that Smith, it worked out for us because we didn't have a game at the weekend. But because of Smith Rowe's injury, Martinelli had to play out in Switzerland. You know what I mean? If Smith Rowe's fit, Martinelli doesn't play in that game, like, you know. So we need these players getting injured is putting a strain on players that will be playing regular for the Premier League. So that is my big beef, you know. So for me, I'd play I'll play Partey, definitely. What about yourself?
And listen, the reason I'm with you, the question for me isn't should Partey play. The question should be, how fit is Partey? Because I don't know. If he's fully fit and he's in full training, he plays. If he's 60% fit, then you can have a question mark over that. Because if you have a 60% fit Partey, then you're going to have to play a fit player because he ain't good enough, because and he'll probably end up getting injured for long term if he's not 100% fit. So the question, I think, should be, how fit is Thomas Partey? If the answer is he's been training for the last couple of weeks, he was fit for Everton, he's definitely going to be fit for Brentford, he plays. And we will do well, because he raises the game of Ødegaard and Xhaka for me 100%, right? So that has to happen if he's fit. But my worry, Lee, is that how fit is he? Because you can have 100% fit Partey and he'll still get injured. So
yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Like, it is, and that's why I'm thinking we just play him anyway, because the guy I've accepted is going to get injured now.
Yeah.
Smith Rowe, another one in that territory with Tomiyasu, Tierney and Partey. Made of glass, this kid. I love him. Absolutely love him. Do you know what, actually? I love all four of them. I love Tomiyasu, I love Tierney, I love Partey, and I love Smith Rowe. But all of them are injury prone at the moment. So, like you said, it's great having those players. When they're injured, it puts pressure on the first team. And this is just 6 games in. So I'm worried, mate. And I've said it a few times, I'm worried about our lack of squad depth. Because when we go into the World Cup season, we've got 5 subs that everyone's using. If we've only got 3 to use on the bench that are any good, that's going to affect us. When we get to a stage of the Europa League, and I'm seeing players on the bench with the names Dozier Dewberry, whatever the hell his name was, and some other double-barreled C name I've never heard of, I'm worried, Lee. 6 games in and we've got these 2 kids on the bench, and Matt Smith, the surfer dude's back. I mean, he went to Bristol City on loan last season, wherever he went. No, they didn't want him. They've sent him back to us, and he's on our bench in the Europa League. It's not right, mate. And I know El Neni and a couple of players are out at the moment, so they would take their place. It's still not a big squad. It's still not a big squad Arsenal got. So this does worry me, mate. And with Partey, we have to play him if he's fit, mate. We have to.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, lot. And this leads me to my next question. I think that Partey, whether he's totally agree with you, lot. I think that there was rumours that he would play for. He was going to be on the bench or at least in the squad for the Everton game. Now, if he was going to be in the squad for the Everton game, then he's had another 6-7 days training. I can't see why he can't play. For me, like, you know, if he doesn't play in this game, I would say, like, you know, let him go to Ghana, by the way, and play a couple of friendlies. Not all the friendlies, you know what I mean? Like, there are friendlies. They're not like
get
proper
fit.
game. Yeah, just to get fit. Just say, like, to him, I will have 60 minutes for that game, another 60 minutes for that game, like, you know, something like that would be good, like, you know. So I would do that. Leads me on to the next point. Tomiyasu, I thought, played very, very well in Switzerland, and that was only Switzerland. I'm going to have to talk about Marquinhos as well. I thought he was sensational on the day. I know it's only Zurich and whatever, like, blah, blah, blah. But I like to see these players playing in these sort of competitions, and I thought he was brilliant. But does Tommy come back, or do you keep the same back four? It's a very, very interesting call from Mika. I think this you know, when they do the starting 11 and or you look at, you know, I you know, like last few times this well, we know what it's going to be. But this one on Sunday at 11 o'clock, it's going to be very, very interesting.
Listen, it's a great question about Tomiyasu, and this is like the pick on Ben White show, isn't it? Because we haven't got him for England, and I'm going to suggest Tommy comes back in. But I'm going to tell you why. Because it's nothing against Ben White. I've actually been really impressed with him. I think he's been excellent at right back. I think he's been one of our most consistent players along with Granit Xhaka. I really like what he's done. However, Tomiyasu in the air, I don't think we've got a better player than him. I think he's outstanding. I think Saliba looks pretty good as well, by the way. But in the air, his aerial ability is fantastic. And I think they've got some players like Norgard, Ivan Toney, the other lad, Mbeumo, these sort of players that are very physical and good in the air and can push us about. And I think Tomiyasu is better aerially than Ben White. I don't think Ben White's shocking. I think he was against Brighton last year, by the way, in his first game. Thought he was awful in the air. But I would go with Tomiyasu. Now, it might be harsh on Ben White, because I wouldn't drop Saliba or Gabriel either, by the way. I think Gabriel's probably been the shakiest of the three, maybe, this season. But I wouldn't drop him, because I think that partnership is working. So it might be harsh, but I would be doing that. The other thing I want to mention is, what do we do about Kieran Tierney and Zinchenko on the other fullback side? Because for me, I like Zinchenko a lot. I think he's a really good player. But his discipline and his positioning is nowhere near as good defensively as Tierney. I'm sorry. That Old Trafford thing is how not to defend, in my opinion, from Zinchenko, right? So there's a couple of issues there. Now, is it an issue or is it a good thing, Lee? Because we talk about the bad side of it, but this might be a good side of it, with having Tommy and Ben White and having the options of Zinchenko and Tierney. Maybe that's a good thing for Mikel Arteta. But I would probably go with I think our best back four, if everyone's fit, is Tomiyasu, Saliba, Gabriel and Tierney. That's what I think our best is. I really do. And I know that might be harsh on White and Zinchenko, but for me, that is the best back four, mate.
Yeah, like someone's just put in the chat, which is a very good point. Now, I don't think Zinchenko was probably 100% fit against Man United, and I don't think, if I'll be honest, Kieran Tierney is. You know what I mean? But like Tierney must be getting nearer and nearer it now. Like, you know, Europa
was quality.
League
I
game.
thought Tierney was quality the other night. I thought as well. Tierney and Tomiyasu were brilliant. I thought.
Yeah, but you have to look at the opposition. They needed games. You know what I mean? But like both of them needed games, and for me, if so it's a real difficult one. I'm going to go, because it's away. If we was at home, Zinchenko every day. But we're away from home. I'm looking at, we need to be a little bit defensively stronger, a little bit better than that. And I think, like, so for me, probably Tierney would be the one to come in there, make sure it's shored up the defence a little bit.
PG in the chat has said exactly that. I agree with that. He's put down, I'll play Zinchenko in home games and Tierney at away games.
Yeah, like, I mean, not all the time.
But I get what you're saying there.
Yeah,
it's the same time. Both of you said it at the same time. It's quite
so for me, like, it's a tough game. They've got good players and all that. So I look at it like defensively, you know, like keep it sound, and then, you know, like you can open it up if you have to. There's two ways of looking at it, Dan. You go with Zinchenko, and then, like, if you're in the lead, then you tighten it up by bringing in Tierney. They're both going to be very, very important in what roles they do. But I think that Tierney's. I'm still, you know, a big Tierney fan when he's at his very, very best and he's fit. He's now got an opportunity where we ain't got to play him week in, week out. But I don't think you got to say, I wouldn't play. Whoever plays in that role, I'm happy with. Like, but I don't think we should forget what a good player and what a good defender Tierney is. I do think if you're looking to be more offensive, and if we are going to go to Brentford and be more offensive, then it's Zinchenko for me. It may be that it is this game for him, but again, when we play Spurs, I know we're at home against, but I would play Tierney in that game because they're good on the counter attack. We don't want to be caught in areas. So there's some really interesting there's a couple of really interesting decisions to make there, like, you know. But for me, listen, you know, both are in the squads for the internationals. Both are not going to the World Cup, so it'd be really interesting to see what happens there with the pair of them. Like, you know, so who we got? We've got Spurs when we come back. They can be rotated a little bit and all that. Like, I'm waffling here. Like, you know, I'm going to go Tierney for this game.
Yeah, I am as well. I think, you know, team news wise, we all know Ramsdale will start. I believe it will be Ben White and Zinchenko, but I would go with Tomiyasu and Tierney. The back pair will stay the same, Gabriel and Saliba. I think PARTEY comes in with Ødegaard and Xhaka, and I think the front three will stay the same in Jesus, Saka and Martinelli. So that's what I expect the team to be. It's going to be interesting at fullback, but other than that, I think the team picks itself at the moment, and as long as PARTEY's fit, of course, as we mentioned. And I need to get where you think is going to happen now, mate. I'm going to go for a 2-1 Arsenal win. I am. I've gone for a 2-1 Arsenal win on this one. I think we'll just have the better of them. I do think they're going to try and bully us. I do think they're going to play some nice football as well. You know, I've made Brentford sound like they just come and kick us off the park. That ain't the case. They actually play football. They've got some decent players. They've got a good threat up top, and they've got some good players. But I do think we'll have enough for them. I do think we'll have enough quality. I'm going to go for an Arsenal 2-1 win, mate. What about yourself, Lee?
I am going to go for the clean sheet. I'm predicting 2-0. I think that Arsenal get back to winning ways and defending well. And to start us winning games again, we've got to defend well. And I think that's where it starts. So I'm going to go Arsenal 2-0. But this is going to be a very, very hard-fought game going to be very, very nervous at times going through this game. But I just think that we've probably just got enough up front. I don't know how you feel. I do feel, even though we lost against Man United, I'm bloody annoyed when we did, because we played really, really well, and we looked dangerous. Missed too many chances. But if Odegaard has his shooting boots on, please bring your shooting boots with you, not your passing boots. And also that front three, I just think will just have enough to get us the 3 points.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. And I think that midfield ticks so much better with Thomas Partey in it. And Odegaard plays so much better with Partey there at the base. He really does. And to be fair to Xhaka, how good he's been consistently, he even improves as well. So I think Partey will be key to this as well. And I think that we will go up that next level when he's in our midfield 100%. Last few minutes, mate, I just want to touch quickly. Some rumours, mild rumours, I will say, coming out of the camp that the priority at the moment is to get signatures on the line contract-wise for Saliba, Saka and Martinelli. Their contracts run out in 2024. There is an option for Martinelli to extend 1 year, but the other two haven't got that option. I want to get your opinions on how much confidence you have in these three signing long-term. And secondly, if they don't decide to sign and they say, I want to leave it to a year left, do we sell them?
Well, yes. Simple as that. They've got to be sold. I think we've got this is the time now. There's no transfer window. This is when you get these things done. Now they're going to turn around and say we've got lots of games week in, week out, and I get that. But I think that all three players are very, very key. I think that Saliba would have probably if I was his representative, I would say, look, let's see how it goes. See if you're getting games, and then we'll do it. There's no reason why he shouldn't sign now. I think that he's firm favourite at the club. I think that's there. I think Saka, I'm 90% sure that he will sign. I'll give you a little insight to that. I sit next to his family, and they're not sitting there at the moment. Now, Xhaka's family was sitting there before. They signed a new contract, and he's up in a nice box. So I would imagine that they're in a box at this stage. You know what I mean? So they haven't been there. So I know they go home and away as well. So they go. I see them at away games. I've seen them. So I would think that maybe it's on the cards for him to have signed, or he's virtually agreed it, or he has agreed it. They're just waiting for the time for it all. That Martinelli, not so much pressure, because he's got a year left. The option on that, listen. If he signs another contract, for another few years, I'll be more than happy with that, because I absolutely love the player. I think he's been superb so far this season. So I do think that all three will sign. I think all three, if they do sign, they're going to be a big part of Arsenal going forward. I think that in 2 or 3 years' time, I don't think there'd be anybody in the Premier League better than them in those positions if they stay injury-free. I mean that sincerely. If they don't, then we would have to sell them, and that would be a sad, sad day.
Yeah, I don't want to think about that. Imagine having a youth project and selling the youth. That don't make any sense to me. So they have to sign. And having said that, if they do go down to their last year, I think that's really bad. I think it's really bad for the club to do that. Because what happens if they say, right, I'm not going to sign until the end of next season when I've got a year left, and we miss out on Champions League and a trophyless again? Liverpool and City are sniffing around Martinelli and Saka. PSG and Real Madrid are sniffing around Saliba. What happens there? So it's bad news. For me, they have to sign now. None of this will wait till the end of the season, see where Arsenal are. We've got to get them signed now. And the difference with this one, Lee, is it's a little bit like the Alexis Sanchez and the Ozil situation for me now. We've got to learn from it. We've got to learn from past mistakes. I don't mind so much when Lacazette goes, or if Eddie would have gone on a free, or if Bellerin goes on a free, or these players, because they just weren't the same bracket as the youngsters, or as the same elite quality as Sanchez and Ozil. But for me, it has to be done now. We can't sit there dithering. We've got to go and say, what do you want? Now, if they want 150 to 180k a week, just give them it. Yeah, because we've got all these wages off the bill now. And if Eddie's getting 100k, they ain't going to want 90, right?
No.
They're going to want 150 minimum to me. So if them three to me, right, said, right, we've signed, they're on 200k a week, I wouldn't even care. I'm not an accountant, Lee. I hate these Arsenal fans. Oh, have you heard about how much it's getting to? I don't give a damn. Yeah, we've saved £7 million for the Aubameyang sale. Woo! I don't care about that. I couldn't give a monkey's how much money we're making, right? Because we spend enough of it. So let's go and put the money where I believe it should be spent wisely. And if it's 180 to 200k a week and we have to spend that on a Saka to keep him here, I'll do it. Yeah, because I don't want to have to sell the player, in my opinion. So that's the way we've got to do it. We've got to go and get it done. The three of them are here, and they're not just three players that are going to be in and around the squad. They're three players that are going to be a first team player for the future. I think Saliba's ceiling is massive. I think he could be unbelievable. I think if you look at the brackets of defenders we've had, he's in between the good defenders and the class defenders already. So how good could he be? Saka, likewise. Martinelli's ceiling, absolutely massive. So we've got three players there now that have to sign for us. And without those players, it's looking pretty bleak at Arsenal. So we have to keep him here. And if I'm honest with you, Lee, I have faith that all three of them will sign because I think they're looking like they've bought into the project. They're looking like they're happy at Arsenal. They understand everybody around them is on one wavelength. And to be fair, the manager deserves a lot of credit there because I think without that, I'm not so sure we'd have the confidence of them signing because whatever you think of the manager, they're believing in him and they're believing in where they're going. So I think he's got a massive part to play in it. And I do think we'll get some news soon that the three of them would have signed towards, maybe now between now and Christmas around that World Cup. I think we'll hopefully get the news that we want to hear, mate.
Yeah, I agree. And, it's a big thing that they do sign. I'm with you. I think that the noises are that they're going to, and realistically, if you look at it, they've got to sign for the way the things are going. We've put a lot of faith in these youngsters, and it's now time to reward them. And I'm totally agree with you on that. If I'm Saliba, Martinelli, or Saka, that first meeting, I'm rubbing my hand. Well, I'm at least getting $100,000 a week. I'm at least, do you know what I mean? I'm at least on that. You know what I mean?
Martinelli's on 90 now. Martinelli's already on 90.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, Saka's only like a low one. He's going to, go in there saying that, the worst deal I'm coming out with is 120. You know what I mean? So that's how I would look at it. And listen, I think they deserve it. You know what I mean? These kids are going to be, they're massive assets. You know what I mean? Do you know what? One of the reasons if you can get them on long contracts and big wages, one of the things is it's going to take maybe put people off coming and getting them. So yeah, get them on big contracts, get them because they're the real deal. That's my opinion.
Fair play, man. Fair play. Listen, we're going to wrap it up there, guys. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Thank you so much for smashing the like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. If you could do the same thing over in my channel. Listen, guys, I'm 100 subs away from 5K. Please, 100 subs, please. Come on. Come and get me to 5K at Football's 12th Man podcast. Just go and hit the subscribe button, please, guys. And then I get to 5K and that's my next target reached. Then I'm happy. So please come and do that if you haven't done so already. And do the same on this channel. Come and follow myself and Lee on socials. And we'll be back to do more content after hopefully Arsenal have picked up 3 points at Brentford. Come on, you Gunners. We'll see you next time, guys. Take care.
See you later, guys.